Hey, this is Pete Evick from Evick and the BRET Michaels Band, and you're checking out FullMetalRock.com.
This is Patrick with FullMetalRock.com. Pleasure speaking to the one and only Pete Evick. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Good, man. Dude, new album released Tuesday. How's it going?
I think it's going well. It seems to be a little attention out there for it. I'm quite surprised.
Yeah. Yeah, the reviews on it so far, I guess, a little bit on the net's been kind of a little buzz happening.
Yeah, very, very exciting. I mean, it's our third release, and it's been 5 years since that, and I was afraid everyone would have forgotten or not cared anymore, and it seems like more people care now than ever, so I'm pleasantly surprised at the attention it's getting.
Yeah, and you're doing this all digital.
All
your
digital,
own label,
man.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's just, you know what? I have 2 kids of my own. I live with my girlfriend. She has 2 kids, and you start becoming more and more aware the older you get. And I'm certainly never going to be a tree hugger. I'm never going to join Dave Matthews Band, but I have to find a balance because I'm always going to drive my hot rodded muscle cars, and because of that, the balance is going green on other places I can. And I don't know a single person that doesn't have an iPod or some kind of phone that downloads music. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't see where I need to make a CD for the, even bands like U2, they'll print 10 million CDs and 5 million of them go to waste. And I'm just doing my part with the environment a little bit. The green movement's more with my record label than it is with my band. My band just happens to be on the record label. So, I'm not trying to make that movement a stand with Evick, so to speak. They just got grouped into something else I was doing.
Yeah. And that's the way to do it. I mean, these days, CDs and actual physical copies are a thing of the past. It's all on, download from iTunes or Amazon or wherever. And everybody has a digital copy of it,
Yes, sir.
And I think you said before, the EP was written about 5 years ago?
Yeah, the funny story about the EP to me is that I have new Evick material that I'm very, very proud of and very excited about, but for some reason I can't get it finished, and I think that it was kind of God or whoever putting me basically telling me to finish those 5 songs, and the reason I couldn't put them all on one album together is because I'd done those 5 songs, and what you're actually hearing are actual demos, and I couldn't. We had a hard drive crash, and I lost all the tracks and couldn't remix them. So for about 5 years, I've just done what I could to remaster them, waited for technology to get better so that I could make them sound as good as I could from the what was left after the hard drive crash. But the one thing about those 5 songs is they have a certain sound, and I've moved on to a different sound now. Every band evolves. Van Halen 1 doesn't sound like Van Halen 2, but you can tell it's still Van Halen, just like Pyromania and Hysteria, for example. A band maintains a certain sound, but also evolves, and Evick has evolved, and the way I produce records has evolved. So those 5 songs stand alone in that era that I did them in. So I released it as a 5-song EP to kind of, not as to say, here's my new stuff, but almost as a way of me putting the past behind me so I can move on to the next one.
Yeah, and the tracks are, say 5 years ago, things changed so much. The tracks are still, still rock and roll, still up to date. There's no...
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I really did. I went back and listened to them and thought about it for about a month before I made the decision to release them. I listened and listened, and I just kind of felt that... I don't want to say they're timeless because I'm certainly not writing an AC/DC or Guns N' Roses record, but I felt like they still held up. I felt like the songs were good enough that what they might be lacking on production would be overlooked.
Yeah, it's rock and roll, man. If it's rock and roll, it's rock and roll. And these days, there's so many categories, you can't, rock and roll is always going to be rock.
Absolutely.
10 years later, it's the same rocking song. But it's surprising that, I guess, seeing y'all with the BRET Michaels Band, and to this, that rocking, that style is totally different. In my eyes, it is,
It's funny because me and Brett write the BRET Michaels records together, and it gives me an opportunity to do something a little bit different. And, Brett writes like poison, and I write like I do, and when we both come together is what the last two Bret Michaels records sound like. So it's a unique. Anybody that's a songwriter or a music fan, it's a good testimony to see how different people do different things and can affect each other. You can, without a doubt, on the Bret Michaels stuff hear. When I listen to the Bret Michaels stuff, it sounds like Poison meets Evick. I hear his influences, my influences together. So, but it does create something brand new.
Yeah, yeah. And it's unusual. Usually you would think, from the listener, you would think of Evick being Evick and Bret Michaels being Poison. And you put it together and it's something totally different,
Something different,
and
yeah.
It's weird.
I guess a lot of times the difference is Bret tends to be able to bring a little more fun and a little more energy to his music. And me personally, I'm still such an old school Bon Jovi fan, and not only Bon Jovi, but a John Cougar Mellencamp type of guy. It's funny with me. I'm a singer-songwriter guy at heart. I like to tell stories, and you can tell by the lyrics of the music. I like to tell stories and have not necessarily a message, but an outcome. I'm never going to write Unskinny Bob.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it's something I've always wanted to be able to do, and working with Bret gives me the opportunity to, with songs like Go That Far or Lie to Me, on the Bret Michaels stuff, I'm able to be a little more of that dirtier, sleazier rock and roll thing that I've personally never been able to do in Evick. But my personal taste, like I said, I love the singer-songwriter stuff lyrically, and I love the stories they tell. I love Bruce Springsteen. I love all that stuff. But sometimes the energy to that stuff is such a downer, and that's where I think I get fortunate enough with Evick. There's enough metal left in my soul that I give it a kick.
Yeah. That's perfect, man. It explains it. That's pretty much to what I was about to say to the music. It's different. It's not that like the track 2 Real Thing. To me, knowing you, like for the last couple of years I've been knowing you, that song is totally you.
It's my anthem, isn't it?
that is it. That is who you are as a person.
Well, I you know what? I got goosebumps talking to you right now. That you and me have been buddies for a couple of years, and that you listen to the song and really feel like it was. In the song I say I always wear my heart on my sleeve, and I do.
Yeah.
And basically you saying that the song sounds like me is that means that I've done exactly what I set out to do. I never faked it.
Yep, that's the only way to do rock is do it true,
Yeah. Hey man, every time you and me get together, we end up talking about Ozzy somehow. so we might as well do it now. Ozzy's had a lifelong career because he's never really he's been true to himself. He always has done just exactly what he wants to do.
Yep, right. All right, moving on. The Evick, any kind of Evick tour you were having?
You know what? We've done a bunch of shows locally since the Bret Michaels tour has been over, but I need to tell you, I don't need to hide this, man. We spent 9 months out on that road nonstop, and the idea of getting on a bus right now is not exciting to me. So we're doing sporadic one-offs with Evick here and there. Not traveling too far from home. We'll see how the record does, and Poison's going to go out on their 25th anniversary this year. Big news coming this week, if you haven't already heard, even though I'm not allowed to say what it is. But it's going to be the rock and roll tour of the century, something no one's ever seen, and something that everyone's always wanted to see. And so when they go out this summer, I might use that opportunity to take a week or two and run Evick across the country into the right markets.
Oh yeah, definitely. We'll hope to see you down here, man. For sure. At least in New Orleans, for sure. And since Bret has had his surgery, how's he feeling? Is it all pretty much not cured, but is it better now?
What's funny is and I'll just be honest with you. I have always said, and I believe I told you before too, Bret thinks he's in better shape than he is.
Yeah. And
he bounces back because he is in better. physically he's in better shape than anybody. He takes care of his body because of the insulin and because of the diabetes. He is healthier than all of us. So when these tragic things have happened to him, his body's been able to recover at outstanding rates. You know, last year when everyone saw him bounce back so fast and they were in shock, that's because we're used to, you know, people like myself who, you know, aren't the skinniest person in the world and spend their days eating cheeseburgers and drinking soda. So our immune systems aren't what his is. He's a perfect machine when it comes to health. And so he's bounced back. He's recovered real well. But on the flip side of that, the other day I was out at his house and he actually sat down and he looked at me just, I still don't feel 100% yet, and it shocked me a little bit. Yeah. So, but you know, he monitors himself and he doesn't put himself in any danger. I mean, you got to think all the things that happened to him. He couldn't have controlled that. It wasn't like he was, you know, doing anything wrong.
Yeah, and I mean, when he came back, his first show, well, of course, was in Biloxi in March last year, and for that show, I was expecting to, you know, see him to be calm and, you know, 'cause just got out of it. Everybody said don't go back on tour, and he decided to do it, and he blew me away. I mean, just that drive he has is just unbelievable.
Well, you and me sat and talked for an hour or so after that show, and you know, I believe you could see the look on my face after it was over. That was a. I'm glad that's down. Do we have to do it again tomorrow?
Yeah, that's the way to do it. Well, I've seen probably Bret Michaels band about 10 times, and I've never seen Evick. But as far as the fans, are y'all the same way y'all are? Because the Bret Michaels show, after the show, y'all back with the fans, y'all hanging out with everybody, autographs, pictures, nonstop. For Evick, I know, of course, it's a smaller fan base, but y'all do that same love to y'all fans the same way?
You know, we do it a different way. I mean, that attitude and that concept of treating your fans like family is something that we brought to the Bret Michaels band. That was us. I mean, you know, Bret doesn't make us do that. That's what we've done as Evick for 10 years. Yeah. But in the Evick thing, a lot of times it's more of a 200 to 500 seater bar type of thing, and we're one of those bands that still. I don't go out there and try to pull it rock star style with Evick. We'll go to these venues and play. I'll play for 4 or 5 hours straight without taking a break. So we don't actually have the time to mingle. A lot of times we get there, show time's at 9:30. I start playing, and the bar will put the house lights on and start kicking people out while I'm still playing. So yes, we treat our fans with that same respect and that same loyalty, but in a different way. We instead of giving them an hour's worth of music, if you come to see Evick, you're going to get. And you know what? We play all our original stuff, but we will play. You know, I just play all my favorite songs. We'll play some country stuff. I'll go anywhere from Hank Williams Jr. and Tim McGraw to, you know, I'll break out some Rage Against the Machine or Kid Rock. And there's no ego about it. I'm not, you know, we're certainly not we're not a cover band by any means, but it's just a celebration of music, man. Yeah. If you come to see an Evick show, you get, and we don't use any set list. Our band is pretty unique if you ever get to see it. There's no set list. A lot of people ask me, what are you going to play tonight? I have no idea. The minute, and it's true, but it makes for a spontaneity that is real similar to when you were in high school and you would go to a party and everyone would take turns putting whatever CD they want on. Yeah, there was no plan to it. It's what you feel like at that moment. And, you know, I've been playing guitar my entire life, and me and Chuck have been together 25 years. There's not a lot of stuff we don't know, or at least we know something from somebody. So, you know, even if we have a jam-packed house of 500, 600 people in a bar, and I hear one guy, you know, say Saliva, which I say Saliva because I'm a huge, huge Saliva fan, and someone will yell out Saliva, I'll stop whatever I'm doing and hammer that Saliva song out right then.
That's the way to do it. That's the good times, you know, kicking back.
Yep, we just don't play any Dave Matthews.
Yeah. Here, Eddie Van Halen? I'm just going to ask, you know, I'm just curious about that one.
Oh, you know what? If you come to see Evick show, 9 times out of 10, we open with Panama, and a few minutes later we do Jump, and by the end of it, we do Why Can't This Be Lovin' Right Now. You without a doubt, if you come to see Evick, you see a minimum of 4 Van Halen songs, sometimes 8 or 9.
Well, that's always good times. About your label, how far do you pursue your label? As far as you have a couple bands on there now, I mean, you plan on keeping this as small, or?
You know what? The label is an idea, and I know that you've checked it out, and you've commented to me about how I'm doing it. It's an idea, and right now I'm home growing it in Virginia. What I would eventually hope is, I don't want to make it sound corporate, but I would almost see a concept like a franchise, so that my office in Virginia isn't going to oversee the southern bands that would eventually get on the label. I would find somebody with the same exact passion that I have and same direction of what I want to do, and tying into the environment and tying into the charities and such, and let them take it over. Do it their way, but work under my umbrella.
Yeah.
I want to focus really, because a lot of the idea on the label is about home growing. It's funny, and it's funny because you and me have talked so much about things when I'm down there, and the one thing is, it's really hard to explain. If you step back and look at the internet, and as a musician or as a reporter, as anything you are, when you saw the internet for the first time, almost everybody I know said, holy shit, I can now connect with everyone around the world that is like me. I no longer have to fight and pull in my local area, because, it's hard in your local area, and all of a sudden you turn your back on your local area. You go, well, I'm not going to play for these 10 assholes that don't like my band anyway. Because now I've got the internet, I'm going to find a guy in Seattle, and I'm going to find a guy in San Diego. And you spend all this time finding 2 or 3 people in every state that likes your band, and you get real excited, and then you spend, $1,000 in gas to get to Seattle, and you play to an empty house, 2 people. Those 2 people ask where everyone else is, and then the club never invites you back, and it hurt your ego, it hurt your bank account. The internet didn't exactly do what we all thought it was going to do, and don't get me wrong, it's been helpful, and it's a great way to keep in touch with those fans once you make them, but the bottom line is, if you're in a band or whatever you're doing, whatever business you're in, America has lost touch of the homegrown thing, and that's what my label's about, man. It's just like supermarkets and farmers. It's just like farmers, man. I feel like the wave is coming in the United States to get back to some kind of mom and pop shops, some kind of local produce on a bigger scale. And my record label's design is just like that. I'm not going to go out and hire an artist from California to make my album covers, because I'm going to get a guy here from Virginia that went to school where I went to school that's looking for the work. You get where I'm going, right?
Yeah. It's keeping it simple and keeping it true to where you're at. That's what people forgot about.
I always talk about, in the last couple interviews I've done, I bring up the fact that Uncle Kracker had a #1 record with selling 40,000 records.
Yep.
40,000 with a #1 record on Billboard. Now, it's a sad state the music industry's in, but let me go back and make my point that I'm trying to make to all these new, young, and local artists that I'm speaking to. In my town alone of Manassas, Virginia, we have about 250,000 people, 250,000 people, right?
Yep.
In a 5-mile radius. In any town in America, you may have that. And so if you just get 25% of that crowd, you've done better than Uncle Kracker,
Yeah, true.
And it's not hard, man. You get out and you do the old school vacuum cleaner salesman. Everybody loves music, man. Everybody loves music. And I'm going to use you as an example, Patrick. I'm going to use you. You and me are buddies. Because I've sat down and taken the time to hang out with you, you showed an interest in my music, and the truth of the matter is, I'm going to call it out to everyone out here. Truth of the matter is, you like my music better than you would because I'm your friend. And you know what? I like what you do better than the guy that I don't know that may do the exact same thing because I'm your friend. And it's the truth. People are more, it's just like rooting for a football team. People are more inclined to root for who they're connected to. And that's what it is. There's a million bands that sound like Bon Jovi, but Bon Jovi spent his life walking around New Jersey saying, I'm the Jersey guy. So does Springsteen. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, keep it local.
And then it grows, and then it's so cool. The people in the next town want to see it, and we've lost touch of that. And so you got me kind of up on my soapbox right now.
Well, I hear you, man. It's definitely the truth, you know.
You know, and that's what it is. Shake hands and kiss babies. Maybe part of my theory comes, you know, I live here in D.C. or, you know, 15 minutes from Washington, D.C. I've been around the politics my whole life. I understand campaigning a little bit different. And but I was the first person, man. I'm an internet-savvy guy. I'm a technological geek. And that internet came out, and I thought I did it. I was the one that did it. I remember looking at Chuck and going, Chuck, we don't ever have to play that shitty bar again because I'm going to make a million fans in every country, every state, and we're going to go there. I did it, man. I rode around in vans and played for 5 people a night for 10 years. And I get it, man. Come home and earn the respect of the people that have been there from day one. And there's a gold record is 500,000 copies. Yes. So within 15 miles of my home, if I focused on the actual people I can reach out and touch, I could have a gold record. And people don't look at it that way.
Yeah, that's true, man. Because if you think about it, you know, they can jump on the net and get, you know, a lot of bands I know, they go out there and bust their ass and come back with nothing, owing money.
Right.
and made you know 2 friends. So for playing for the 30 friends they had at home, but they can have 30 house parties with 30 more people at each party. Make a load of money, you know.
And it's not always certainly about money, but yeah, you do want to be compensated for your life's passion and everything you sacrifice to have it.
True that, man. Well, man, I appreciate it. Any web addresses where they can find more information about Evick and about your new label?
Man, I'd say tell them I'll just call you.
I'll put my number on the web.
There you go. You know, the website, just check it out. You know, Facebook, everybody in my community seems to be talking about it, so look me up on Facebook and ask me yourself, you know. My head's not that big. I still check my own Facebook.